Peace and love, family, and welcome back for another Sunday Hope and Healing session where we come here to offer hope, encouragement, to share things that we've come to experience in our journey, mysteries and riddles that we've been blessed to unfold, at least our satisfaction, and to actually offer healing, which we do through a holistic methodology referred to as transcending the matrix. Transcending the matrix is a system of healing, if you will, that looks at the totality of a person, addressing the issues from the point of the root cause. Do a lot of work with eliminating pain, not managing pain, but eliminating pain from its root cause. We do a lot of work really dealing with any and every aspect of a person's life. And the root cause of the issue is seldom what it seems. It tends to be something much deeper beneath the surface where we address that. And so today's topic, welcome to all who are here with us today. Jennifer Bliss, good to have you in this space today and sending a lot of love in your direction, my sister, and to everybody who's here today. Our topic for today is dealing with making sure you don't live your whole life mm, and fail to fulfill your purpose. Making sure you don't live your whole life and fail to fulfill your purpose. Jennifer, you're here, and I don't know who all of the other people are here. I see that um, you you know um, have commented here, and forever whoever else is here. A thing that I've been experiencing a lot, that's been around me a lot, is um, I've been interacting with a lot of people that I care about who, um, with a loved one who's been, uh, who, who recently been making their transition, right? Quite a number of people, many people, specifically their mother. Um, I think about 7 people, 6 or 7 people in the last few weeks. Um, and even this past week, actually, I had never experienced anything like this before, but I actually attended a fish funeral earlier this week. I was in my community where I live, and there's a pond right there. And as I was walking to collect my mail, I see what appeared to be fish. The fish were rather large. You can't even see the whole thing on the screen, about 18 inches long. Some of them were, I'd never seen these. Um, and they were like real still and quiet. And so I walked over to see that it was what I thought it was. Indeed, there were some very large fish that were there. It turns out that there was another fish, optimal living. Starts here. Greetings, good to have you in this place, in this space today, Versandra. Looking forward to a lot of people participating in the. Well, I'll speak to that later. Let me stay in this train of thought that I'm in right now. So as I got closer, I saw that there was another fish that was dead. That was just up on right on the grass, just outside of the water. Wasn't the same type of fish. Wasn't the same. This fish looked nothing like these other fish that were attending this fish funeral, if you will. And I spent like an hour, more than an hour, in fact, with these fish. I counted 11 of them, these large fish. They were all clearly in a state of mourning. They were clearly in a state of mourning. I didn't know that fish processed emotions in that way before I had this experience earlier this week. Um, at one point, 7 of them were perfectly lined up in a little bit of a semicircle, all facing the direction where that dead fish was, outside of the water. I sensed that they maybe wanted me to put it back in the water, and I did that to the best of my ability. But I counted as many as 11 of these very large fish, and this was an area where there was debris in the water, you know, from where the grass was cut and stuff, and um, so I only had limited view of being able to see because there wasn't a lot of clarity in the water itself. But I was able to count 11 at one time. There were fish that even had their heads up out of the water, like looking to see what was going on. I'd never seen anything like this before. But even with the fish, they were mourning the transition of another fish. Um, and so this has had me thinking about and pondering over life purpose and purpose of life. And I thought about this. I never actually posted this on social media. I'm going to though. And it was to present these questions to people. And I want you to consider these questions. You may want to write these down. Um, because they're dealing with this central theme of making sure you don't live your whole life and fail to fulfill your purpose. And so a lot of times we live our life and we focus on the stuff that we focus on, which a lot of times is um, just getting by, living day to day, going to work, taking care of the kids, seeing the grandchildren, uh, getting groceries, voting, tending to different things that we just have going on in life. All of these things are different things that we have going on in life, and we tend to these different things. Um, a lot of times, one day doesn't vary that much from the other uh, in terms of us being distracted from what the greater purpose in which we as souls entered into this earth realm and came to earth. And so all of us, I maintain that all of us came to learn something. And I want you to maybe jot this question down, definitely to think on it, to reflect on it. What did you come to earth? What did you come? Why were you born? Or what were you born to learn? Why did you come to this planet in this life to learn? What is it that your soul wanted to learn in this life? Okay. I what I came to for myself is that I came to this planet for the purpose of learning that even in places of apparent darkness, that the light of God is still shining, even if it's hidden. Okay. This is a place that feels uncomfortable to me in a lot of ways. I remember a more peaceful existence before I was living on earth. That might sound a little bit strange to hear, but I mean it's true. I have memories of a more peaceful existence. There's a lot about this particular planet and the way that things are done here that don't really make sense to me because I'm used to something different. And I have memories of that, okay, in terms of how souls show up in their interactions with one another, things that are, to me, would be very basic, but is very different than how things are typically done amongst humans living on planet Earth, right? But to see that even in the midst of all of this apparent darkness, to see the light of God is still shining and to find it, even when the light is hiding, right? And so, in that sense, I feel that uh, what I've come as a soul to learn in this life as a human being on planet Earth is to see through clear lenses and to therefore behold the innocence in myself and all others. through a heart that's been purified through the power of pure love. Okay. This planet to learn. Okay. Now there's another question, and I really encourage you to really sit with that. Sit with that question and see really what comes up for you. What do you deem to be your purpose? Or what do you perceive you came to Earth to learn? Now, the next question I'm going to pose is this. It's kind of the flip side of that. What did you come to Earth during this life to teach? Now, I believe that we all are so much more than what we think we are. And everybody we encounter is so much more than their issues and their baggage and their drama, right? And so, in one sense, there are things I believe that we came to learn, there are things that we came to teach. And sometimes what we came to teach isn't necessarily what we might initially think. It's perhaps something a little bit different. But what I perceive that I've come to Earth during this life to teach is to really teach people to see, um, to teach people how to see beyond the fear or that false evidence that appears real, to see the wholeness and innocence in oneself and others. And so, even in this work of transcending the matrix that I've been teaching for over 20 years now, that is essentially what it is that's being taught, even in my work, in terms of conducting these trainings and initiations in transcending the matrix, to see beyond the matrix of illusion, beyond the third dimensional beliefs of separation and limitation, to see beyond what appears to be so, that false evidence that appears real, that may manifest in terms of a person dealing with health challenges or having physical pain in their body temple or things of that nature, and to be able to see beyond all of those things, beyond the disguise, if you will, to see the greater truth, to see beyond the person's funky attitude and all that, and to see the purity of them as a spiritual being that's maybe forgotten who they are, or maybe made the sacrifice of behaving very differently than who they truly are as a soul, in order to challenge you to strengthen your spiritual muscles and to clarify your spiritual vision, to be able to see their innocence beyond that. It's not a thing that's easy to do. And I'm not saying this to get yourself in a situation where you're dealing with a relationship with a narcissist and you're being uh, sucked in a way that your own light is being sniffed out, or snuffed out, I should say. All right. But to be able to see the wholeness and innocence in yourself and others. And if you're seeing that wholeness in yourself, then you are able to set up some healthy boundaries too, that keep you from getting, hopefully, in a compromising situation. If you're seeing others also through the eyes of innocence and you're seeing others in their wholeness, you become a healer. Okay. And if you are able to see a person's wholeness beyond what their ability is to see their brokenness, the strongest vibration wins. So, at any rate, uh, I'm speaking to what I perceive I came to Earth during this life to teach. Oh, again, I want you to consider, what is it that you came uh, to this planet to teach? And then the third question that I really want to pose here is, what did you come to Earth during this life to do? Okay. And maybe this thing about teaching came up because I believe that's part of what I've come to do. Uh, but what do you feel like you came to this Earth during this life to do? From my perspective, I came here to embody God and to demonstrate God's sovereignty and God's rulership over the lower vibrational frequencies, over the lower nature, right? And to prove that to myself by allowing my heart to be purified to such a degree that it becomes light as a feather. All right. That there's no space in my heart for holding on to anger or resentment or bitterness or animosity or shame or guilt or any of those other lower vibrational frequencies, because I'm able to see myself through innocent eyes. I'm able to see other people through innocent eyes. And I believe that at our core, at our essence, we're made of the same stuff that God's made of. So our essence is God. I'm not saying that we need to get on some megalomaniac ego trip, but the essence of all of us is God, right? At our essence. The problem is that we frequently are in our ego rather than our essence. We're in the part of us that's trying to edge God out rather than our essence, where we're showing up as a demonstration of God, right? And so we are pure love and divine light. The way that we know ourselves to be pure love and divine light, because it's one thing to know it intellectually, it's another thing to know it experientially. The way that we come to know it intellectually is things that we read, things that we hear, and stuff like that. But the way that we come to know it truly, the way that we get it deep down on the inside of us, is through knowing it experientially. And the way that we know it experientially, that we are pure love and divine light, is when pure love and divine light becomes all that we see, right? When it becomes all that we see. And when we're able to see, again, going back beyond the matrix of illusion, if you will, as it shows up in the different life circumstances and situations that we experience, as it shows up in the things that we see on social media or the news, as it shows up through our interactions with just life circumstances and people that we encounter in our life. And to be able to see in the midst of all of that, the presence of God in all of that. Hmm. To see the light in all of that. I shared before, hey, listen, Transcending the Matrix was born in the context of me having been a person who had been sickly, and Western medicine was never able to help me. Me personally, I'm not saying for other people don't do that if that's how you feel guided. If that's how you feel guided, you honor how you feel guided. But it came in that context, also the context of me living for a year without electricity in my home in Detroit. And so I didn't have a lot of other distractions, and I was able to do self healing for the purpose of developing and teaching a healing methodology. And Transcending the Matrix was born out of that. I wouldn't have even gotten the knowledge and profound insights that I got in terms of being a healer if it had not been for the fact that I loaned the person I was dating at the time my laptop, and while it was in her possession, it stopped working, because that ended up leading to a series of other events that end up uh, resulting in me learning from a beautiful soul named Cam Yoon. There are all of these places where we experience these things that might feel like darkness, but it's really the light of God hiding inside of something that we just need to clarify our vision to be able to see clearly. Greetings, Michelle Childs. It's good to have you in this space today. I'm sending a lot of love in your direction. Okay. And so, again, I encourage you to ponder, uh, as far as your own consideration for you personally. Why did you come to Earth? What did you come to Earth during this life to do? So, what did you come to learn? What did you come to teach? And what did you come to do? Those are three questions I want to wholeheartedly encourage you to answer for yourself, and write them down so that you can go back and refer to it, look at it, and hold yourself accountable. Me sharing this with you is part of me holding myself accountable, in fact. Okay. And so we're going to actually get into some healing because I know a lot of people, we go through life and we don't necessarily invest a lot of time reflecting on why are we here? And we might do it from a victim standpoint when we're going through hell, when we're having difficult times in our lives. We might have times where we feel like, man, is it worth it? Is it worth it being alive? You know how many people I've encountered and ministered to who are like thinking about just taking themselves out? Quite a few. Quite a few. Real talk, there have been times I've thought about it myself. Like, what is the point of being here? And I wouldn't like take a bunch of pills or shoot myself in the head or anything like that. But I do know that energy follows consciousness. And I am very clear that I could decide that it's not really worth it for me. So just let go in a way that I would draw things into my life experience that would result in my leaving the planet. Okay. Because it just isn't always that pleasant to be here. But I'm not really selfish enough to do that because I know how it would impact the people that I care about. And also, I recognize it wouldn't really be fulfilling my mission. Okay. And that's critically important to me. But again, I don't want anybody to be in a situation where you lived your whole life and failed to really fulfill your purpose. I believe that at the end of this life, you may have an opportunity to look back over your life. Even after you've left your body, you may have an opportunity to look back over your life with a greater clarity of a decision that you made before you decided to be born. Dig what I said there. The decision that you made before you decided to be born, the plan that you had agreed on for your life. You know, a lot of times we feel inclined to have this victim mentality as it relates to life because we experience these things that we don't feel like we chose. And I'm not saying the bad things that you've experienced in your life are your fault. What I am saying, however, is just like you might choose to buy a movie ticket to go and see a movie, and might it might be a comedy, it might be a thriller, it might be a horror movie, it might be an action movie, it might be some kind of adventure film. But that was what you chose to participate in that moment. And you did so because you believed you would enjoy that experience. And what allows you to be able to enjoy that experience is because you have agreed within yourself to engage in the temporary suspension of disbelief. In other words, you have allowed yourself to buy into the illusion. If you're watching a sci-fi movie and you're busy thinking that could never happen, you're not really going to thoroughly enjoy the movie. And in a similar sense, in a lot of ways, you and I wrote the script for our lives, or at least participated in the writing of the script for our lives before we came into these human bodies. Before you came into this human body that you are occupying right now, you were part of the determining factor of how this movie would play out, if you will. And things can be difficult and challenging sometimes because it's easy to get deeply immersed in the illusion, if you will, because that's all that a movie is. And you've engaged in the temporary suspension of disbelief. In other words, you have allowed yourself to forget, in some sense, who it is that you really are. And sometimes in the process, sometimes we might watch movies where we feel a little disturbed. I remember when I watched the movie Training Day, I really liked Denzel Washington as an actor. When I watched the movie Training Day, for a while, I didn't like Denzel Washington. I'm just saying what's honestly true for me because he so thoroughly embodied something that I didn't like seeing, and the whole movie, I was waiting for him to this his character that he played to reveal some redeeming qualities, and the whole movie went through without that ever happening. Without that ever happening, he ended up winning an Academy Award for that performance. It was a very believable performance. And so sometimes we can watch a movie that ends up staying with us a little bit, right? A movie that we buy a ticket and go see at a theater sometimes will stay with us for a little while. Sometimes in life we can get caught up and we can lose ourselves. We can forget and not really focus on what it is that really matters. Now, for me, I'm very, very fortunate because I believe that there's a strong link between the work that I do and what I perceive my purpose to be. In terms of what I feel like I'm here to learn, what I feel like I'm here to teach, and what I feel like I'm here to do are really all wrapped up together. And what I actually do in terms of work, all of that is kind of wrapped up together in terms of the work that I do, in terms of ministry and teaching and healing. Okay, that's what I get to do in my life's work and in my soul's work. All right. Now, that might not be the case for you. You might be teaching in a different capacity, or you might be doing work with children in some way, or you may be doing. Apparently, I'm getting a weak internet signal, so I hope that you can still hear me. But whatever your soul's work is, whatever it is that you came to this earth to learn, to teach, and to do, try to see if you can find ways of incorporating that into your life, because your purpose may or may not be specifically what it is that you do for a living, per se. All right. However, whatever your purpose is, I encourage you to find ways where you can express that through the work that you're doing, right? Express that through the work that you're doing. I'm at my, visiting with family, which is why my background is different than it normally is. We're celebrating my sister's birthday yesterday, um, and uh, there was a lot of food that was cooked, and you know that resulted in uh, you know dishes being dirtied and stuff, and you know my job isn't washing dishes or doing things like that, but I was able to take that task and do it from a spirit of love, right? And so whatever it is that we're doing, the Bible talks about whatever it is that you're doing, do it as if you're doing it unto God. So whatever your life might be in terms of your vocation, endeavor to find ways to express your life's purpose in what it is that you're doing. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and do some healing regarding that. And if anybody feels inclined to share what it is that and I encourage you to sit with this. Don't just type something in the chat and be done with it. I really want you to sit with this and to put it on paper. On paper may even be better than simply just doing it electronically. But write out why you think you came to Earth, what you came to Earth to learn, what you came to Earth to teach, what you came to Earth to do. And let those be three separate answers. Mine were three separate answers. They were linked in a lot of ways, but they were three separate answers. Lynette DeShields McMillan, greetings. Glad to have you in the space today. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started with some healing to break down some of those barriers that are standing in the way, because I don't want any of us to go and live our whole life and not fulfill the purpose that we came to this earth to fulfill in the first place. I want us all to be able to fulfill the purpose of our soul that we agreed with God on before we came into these human bodies. All right. So God, I know you to be the source of all good, the perfecter of everything. I know that there is no spot where you are not, and that you are ever beckoning us unto you and beckoning us to live the truest, fullest versions of who we were created to be according to the divine blueprint by which we were designed and created. And through the union that we share, through the power of your pure love, and the Holy Spirit, with humility and gratitude, I'm thankful to be able to demonstrate you as a healer on the behalf of whoever wants to partake of this. If that's you, I encourage you to say your name right now for the point of neutralizing from the point of the causal root of the entire energetic structure of every strand of DNA and every cell of the body of each soul who's spoken their name or had their name spoken by someone else regarding this healing. Neutralizing the root cause of all blockages and barriers that keep us locked into the distractions of life and weighed down by the things that seek to grab our attention and steal our attention from that which is most important. And to transmute that into and replace it with being in complete alignment with the purpose for which we came to this earth, what it is that we came to learn, what it is that we came to teach, what it is that we came to do, and who it is that we came here to be as fully self-expressed souls, embodying the light and the love and the power and the peace and the grace of God in every aspect of our lives. And I bear witness to our wholeness, beginning on this date and in this time and space called now. Thank you, God. Thank you for this gift of your divine love. It is done. It is done. It is done. All right, let's get into the healing. So let's just deal first off with this let's first address the collective consciousness of humanity, right? Because in a lot of ways, people in general just get caught up a lot of times, in a lot of ways, get sidetracked from what our purpose is in a lot of different areas. Maybe other people's expectations, maybe avoiding other people's disapproval. Let's deal with that, avoiding other people's disapproval. And also, in connection with that, desire to experience people's acceptance. So sometimes in our desire to avoid people's disapproval and our desire to be accepted by the group, we're hardwired for that in a lot of ways, um, because it's at one point it was a biological necessity, right? But let's look at neutralizing the ways that we've betrayed ourselves, actually. Thank you, God. The ways that we betrayed ourselves to keep from being shunned by others or to be looked on disapprovingly in the eyes of others. and one to be embraced by our circle, whatever we choose our circle to be or identify our circle to be. So let's neutralize the fear of being cast aside. See that there's something that's very primal in that for us. You know, the lives that we live in 2024 are very different than how life was in 1322, for example. It's very different than how it was for humans 3,000 years ago, um, where we had to rely on one another's skills in obvious ways, right? Now it's less obvious for us. But we depended on the community. We depended on others. It would be hard to survive. Physically, it would be hard to survive without the presence of a tribe. And so there's an aspect of us that, still has that going on and fears being shunned by the group, right? So let's neutralize that fear from the point of the root cause and replace that with being able to draw into our life experience a tribe that supports us where it is that we authentically are. So it may mean that some people will fall off. But we're calling forth more supportive people in. Okay. People who support our authentic selves and us being our authentic selves. People who are a part of our soul's tribe, so to speak. People who are part of our soul family. Hmm. And to furthermore, let's strengthen us to be able to fully embrace that, to fully accept and embrace that, and walk in that in joyfulness and love and confidence. Yeah. All right. Thank you, God. All right. So let's look at. There's a saying that ignorance is bliss. There's another saying that ignorance isn't bliss. Ignorance is just ignorance. All right. Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes it's convenient to not know stuff. I remember there were years ago, there was a documentary done called An Inconvenient Truth. There's some things, and whether you agree with the topic of that documentary or not, uh, the fact remains is that some things it's convenient to not know. Some things it's inconvenient to not know. There are a lot of things in the lifestyle that I choose that are directly correlated with what I know. And it doesn't allow me to move in the world in the same way that most people would move in the world, because for me, I know better. I'll put it that way. And I'm not saying this to put myself on some high horse or anything like that, but because I know certain things, I don't try to get away with certain things. Okay. An example is I don't have the luxury of treating people poorly just for my own advancement or what I perceive to be my own betterment. I don't have the luxury of that because I know that I can't do harm to somebody else without doing harm to myself. Okay, in a very real way. In a very, very real way, I get that. So it doesn't afford me the luxury to behave in certain ways or to disregard other I'm going to say life forms, which is why I end up spending an hour with some fish at a fish funeral. Anyway, I digress. So let's look at FOMO, fear of missing out. And people might have a fear of missing out on whatever the crowd is doing. Okay. So let's deal with that fear of missing out on whatever the crowd is doing and with a replace it with an awareness of what the opportunity cost is. Opportunity cost is kind of an economic term, and it speaks to like each choice, you're accepting something and you're giving up something. Okay. So the opportunity cost is what's the cost of what it is that you are choosing, right? And so, or what's the cost of not taking this particular route versus taking this particular route, right? And so to kind of put that in a context of what I'm wanting to convey right now, as far as transmuting this fear of missing out, it's recognition of what the opportunity cost is of the thing that you would be afraid of missing out on, which makes it not so difficult to let that thing go, whatever that is, when you end up realizing, scripture talks about counting the cost. When you realize what the actual cost of that thing that you're afraid of missing out on is, which is usually something that's related to group consciousness or going, you know, um, the route that most people are going. Okay. And so let's replace that with the joy and the celebration and the fulfillment of a more fulfilling, a route that's ultimately much more fulfilling, right? Scripture says there's a way that seems right to a person, but the end actually ends up leading to destruction. There are a lot of things that people do that are popular to do, that are very common to do, but they're not in alignment with who it is that we were divinely designed to be. They're not necessarily in alignment with, in our right mind, what we would choose for ourselves, but things that we're maybe choosing based on our baggage. Okay. See, Michelle has said with my jobs as well as what I do in the community, I'm in the same boat when it comes to how I treat people and how I have to act. Yeah, yeah. Well, there's something pure about your soul, Michelle, that you're able to do that. And so I want to take a moment right now and address fear of being teased or shamed for being a goody goody. Seems like a weird thing, but so we're going to purify that through the power of pure love and transmute that into dwelling in a state of harmony and bliss and love and joy. Celebrating oneself. Here's a reality: people are more likely to celebrate you if you celebrate you. Okay. People are more likely to embrace your difference if you embrace your difference. People are more likely to see the value in you if you see the value in yourself. Okay. And so let's actually provide some boost to one, feeling comfortable in your own skin, two, feeling comfortable with who it is that you really are inside, and three, feeling comfortable with your authentic self expression, how it is that you move in the world, how it is that you express your beingness. Okay. So feeling comfortable with all those aspects within yourself and therefore attracting people in your life that embrace that as well. I mentioned on this broadcast a few times before about um, uh, what's the word? Affirmation. An affirmation I got from a lady named Anita Moorjani, uh, whose first book was called Dying to Be Me. She had a near death experience wherein she realized that she developed this cancer in the first place because it was really a function of her betraying herself. And then when she realized that, she had a really profound, extremely rapid turnaround in her health. Really profound story. Anyway, an affirmation that I received through her is, I only engage with those who are loving and appreciative towards me. And so let's, be able to strengthen that coming in your direction. And a lot of times I'll add the word respectful. Not only engage with those who are loving, appreciative, and respectful towards me. Okay. And I found that since I started doing that, I've attracted different types of people, and other people that wouldn't be that way have been repelled from me. Thank you, God. All right. Now, this doesn't mean that I don't encounter people that have an attitude, because I still do sometimes, but that's not where I'm deeply engaged with folks. And I might be able to say something or do something that may help to redirect them in a healthy way. But I'm not having these experiences as part of my intimate life, you know, where it's just like a living hell on earth, dealing with folks who, you know, want to disrespect you, or who are ugly with their words towards you, or things of that nature. All right, so let's optimize that in terms of a feeling of worthiness, of having people in your life who embrace you and support you and who it is that you really are. People who see you through the eyes of innocence, and people who support you being the best version of yourself from a truly heart-centered place themselves. Okay. All right. So now let's look at I want to look at ways that you might feel about yourself, guilt or shame that you might feel about yourself for ways that you perhaps abandoned yourself in the past. We've all done it in different ways. But to bring a sense of deep, deep, deep forgiveness, deep, deep, deep self acceptance, the person you are now and the person that you were then, and deep compassion for the place that you were in to have made the choices that you made in the past, where you had gotten off of your center and veered off the path, so to speak. Okay. All of it's ultimately part of your journey. And so deep self-acceptance as far as that's concerned, profound self-love. Thank you, God. Ah, hmm. I really felt a strong connection to that happening. Okay. Like there's some deep healing that took place with regard to that. All right. Now let's look for a moment at let's look at for a moment the dweller on the threshold. The dweller on the threshold. What's the threshold? The threshold is that space that is in the portal, that is in the doorway. And so sometimes when we want to move from one place where we are and walk through that door to the next place, sometimes we encounter a dweller on the threshold. Sometimes our ego will show up in a way that will engender within us fear and anxiety and a lot of low vibrational feelings that will try to hold us back, stuck where we are. And then we actually sometimes want to blame that on other people. But the reality is that there is a part of our own self, that part of us that's trying to edge God out, that doesn't want to die, that is fighting for its own survival. And sometimes when we make that next step and we pass through that door, it serves as a threat to the part of us that's trying to edge God out. But the only way that we can be the fullest version of ourselves is if we conquer the dweller on the threshold. Okay. And so the greatest battle isn't one that we engage in with somebody else. It isn't one that we engage in with anything outside of ourselves. The greatest battle that any of us will have is with that part of us that wants to stand against the greatest part of us. Okay. First, that part of us that would seek to dissuade us from being who it is that we were called to be. All right. There's an aspect of that in all of us. Okay. Part of us that wants to live in the opposite direction of where it is that we agreed to as souls choosing to enter into the earth. And the way that that is dubbed in English is evil. That's what evil is. Living backwards, living in the opposite direction of what our soul's purpose actually is. Okay. And if we have come to the end of our life where we have failed to fulfill our mission, failed to live our purpose, then our purpose was thwarted by the devil, which is just the word lived backwards. It means that we lived our life in a way that was in the opposite direction of what we were divinely intended to have lived and experienced. And so I'm here to offer this support so that we can make sure that we don't live our whole life and fail to fulfill our purpose. And so, with that said, I want to help to stir up within each of us a strong commitment and passion for fulfilling the purpose in which we came to this earth in the first place, to be able to boost up and strengthen our resolve to fulfill our life's purpose, to fulfill the purpose that we were divinely designed to fulfill as human beings living in an earth suit on this planet, on planet Earth. Not just as people, and certainly not simply as personalities. A personality is a persona. A persona is a mask. A mask is an illusion. We're wanting to transcend the illusion and to live the truth. Okay. As the souls that we were created to be, as drops of water in the ocean of God. Hmm. Woo. All right. So, want to stimulate a sense of profound reward in living our truest selves and having the courage to recognize what it is that we came to earth to learn, and furthermore to have the courage to actually learn what we came to learn, to be committed to learn what we came to learn, no matter what the cost might be to our ego, right? To be able to teach and to do what it is that our soul came to this earth to teach and to do. And a lot of what we teach isn't necessarily what we're teaching like in a classroom setting. There are things that we teach our children. There are things that we teach people who we might be in some position of leadership regarding. But I'm saying this as a minister. One thing that I got very clear on and that I'm very intentional about at this juncture in my life, something that I said about my grandmother, my late grandmother, when I was eulogizing her, that I felt like she did. I said that my grandmother lived a better sermon than I've ever preached. My focus is on letting my teaching be how I'm living, being a living example. Okay. Shout out to DJS who on her first CD, A Musical Messenger, actually had a song called um, Live the Lesson. I think it was the name of the song. All right. And I want to honor the memory of her late sister, Hattie, Hattie Mae Jackson Pembroke. Okay. All right. And so I want to go ancestral now. Thankful for how Hattie brought the thought of Hattie brought that up. So let's look at um, historical patterns within our ancestry of people losing sight of their purpose. And so missing out on passing down a sense of purpose from one generation to another. Okay. Want to look at going back 17 generations. Okay. And sometimes in our ancestral lineage, there are these different breaks. There are these different places where we've missed the mark. And in that, there end up sometimes being negative patterns that are passed down. There's good stuff that's passed down too. Please be mindful of that. But sometimes there's some other things that are missed along the way. The best parents miss sometimes. Nobody ever gets it 100% right 100% of the time. So we want to actually kind of help to repair that ancestral lineage of places where it was missed to pass down a sense of purpose. And sometimes the way that even shows up is by people maybe wanting to impose their sense of purpose on subsequent generations. Maybe a person, had a business or they're involved in a certain line of work and they want, the next generation to take over the family business or something like that. Maybe that was something they enjoyed doing, but maybe it's not necessarily the purpose of the next generation, so to speak. Right. I was with my god brother yesterday, who has his Juris Doctorate degree. He went to law school and graduated from law school. Um, his late mother was an attorney, and that was part of a connection to his late mother, who had passed many years ago when he was quite young. I don't even remember if he had graduated from high school yet. Um, kind of thinking he hadn't graduated from high school yet when his mother passed, and um, but by nature he's more of a creative. Okay, and so he ended up moving away from that. There was that connection to his mother in terms of the practicing law, but that wasn't really a part of his soul's purpose. Okay. All right. All right. So let's resolve any sense of guilt that may have been passed down from previous generation or previous generations, as far as taking a different path in life is concerned. Hmm. and acceptance of one's own unique path. So we're going to rewrite the script in terms of um, walking in confidence with one's own unique, with respect to one's own unique journey, and doing so in joyfulness and finding support for it. Finding support for it. And it may not necessarily come in the ways that we would think or think that we want for it to, you know, most significantly come from. It may come through a different path. I've certainly experienced that and seen other people experience that uh, in terms of the support still coming. It didn't come in the way perhaps that one was looking for, but it was still there. But having eyes to see where it actually is and to be able to feel gratitude for the places that it does show up, who it shows up through, and how it actually shows up. Okay. So you want to boost and strengthen that. All right. And also, I want to tone down the sense of arrogance and self importance and optimize humility, optimize confident humility or humble confidence. Hmm. Those who really have got it going on don't have to tell everybody that they do. They show it. And those with eyes to see won't be able to help but to see it. Okay. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get ready to close out now. Um, but God, thank you so much for the healing that's taken place thus far. Thank you for the ways that we have made our enemy our footstool, to the degree to which we've made our enemy our footstool in today's hope and healing session. Thank you for strengthening us and giving us further resolve and further clarity. Uh, Thank you for helping us to get a clear understanding and refocus our attention as far as how we live our life and ensuring that we're living a life of purpose, that we're intentional in how we're showing up in the world and how we're moving in the world, and really putting a premium on what it is that we truly came to this earth to learn, what it is that we truly came to this earth to teach and to do and to be. Thank you for the beautiful privilege of being able to be a facilitator of this for us today. It's truly an honor and a privilege, and I appreciate it. Thank you for continuing to shower us with a bounty of bright blessings. Ashe and amen. All right, beautiful souls. As always, it's been my pleasure to be here with you today. If you feel, uh, some value in what it is that we've done, I truly encourage you to celebrate that, to share that. Speaking of sharing, last week we had on Rosandra Kennebrew, uh, who's the president of Optimal Living Education and Retreats. I hope I got that name properly. You see scrolling on the bottom of the screen uh, that she's actually doing a Secrets to Aging Gracefully, Mind, Body, and Spirit program. It's going to be taking place April 6th, 13th, and 20th. Um, those are the first 3 Saturdays in April. It's in the evening, as I recall. You can go to the www.optimalliving um, optimallivingretreats.com website and register for that event. So please take advantage of that Again, that's the 6th, 13th, and 20th. If you find value in what it is that we're sharing and you feel like it'll be a blessing to somebody else, please, by all means, share this video. Whether you're watching it on Facebook, if you're watching on Facebook, please share it there. Comment about why you're sharing it so people will feel inclined to click on it. If you're watching on YouTube, text or send an email to somebody this video. Share with them why you want them to watch it. Make it personal to them on why you want them to be able to watch it, what you think it will be able to offer them, right? And if you're at all interested in learning to do what it is that I do, this beautiful work that is transcending the matrix, you can go to, and it's scrolling on the bottom of the screen, you can go to my personal page, Royce Fletcher Thomason, on either Instagram or on Facebook. Reach out and send me a direct message. I get a lot of messages, so if you don't hear back from me within 24 hours, it means I may have missed it. Charge it. Please don't take it as it wasn't important to me. It is important to me, but I sometimes get a little inundated. I miss things sometimes. So if you don't hear back from me within 24 hours, please reach out and send another message. Okay. I'm happy to share this with people. This has been a beautifully enriching experience in my life to be able to share with people what I'm able to share with people, to be able to help people experience medical miracles, to be able to deal with somebody who's in pain, and a few minutes later, they don't have that pain anymore. Pain that they might have been carrying for hours or days or years or decades. To be able to help somebody to become free of what's impacted them so significantly for so long, it's an incredibly rewarding experience. But to me, beyond that, it's about a global peace mission, because I've been blessed to work with a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different belief systems, a lot of different educational levels, who look a lot differently than one another, who come from different religious backgrounds. And we see this healing work working across all of those things that would seek to divide us. And it really does point to how we really are all one. And if we can operate in that sense of oneness, that sense of at one-ment, how much better of a place is this whole world for all of us? Right? So again, many blessings to us all. If you're at all interested in learning this work, again, reach out to me. If you value what you've gotten in today and you want to contribute to what it is that we're doing, you're certainly welcome to do that. You can do so via Cash App at $Royce F. Thomason. We certainly welcome that. But whatever way it goes, we want you to live a highly and profoundly blessed life. We want us all to be able to enter into and experience that sustainable state of supreme satisfaction. Let us get there. Let us all get there. And may love reign in the hearts of all beings everywhere. Until we see each other again, I send you forth with peace and love. Catch you next time.